Hi, I'm Yvonne Bombardier. I own Wild Birds Unlimited here in Dawsonville, Georgia, and I'm going to go over a little bit about squirrel-proof feeders and how these different methods work, and then maybe you can drop your own ideas on creating your own squirrel-proof feeder. So the first feeders I have are made from a company in Canada. They are based on springs that are inside the feeder that when the squirrel gets on the perch of the feeder, it shuts it down and denies access to the seed. So birds don't weigh as much as squirrels. Birds have hollow bones so they can fly, whereas squirrels have solid bones so that they can be strong and climbing trees and things. So when a squirrel gets on here, the spring can't handle their weight and it shuts down. When birds are on here, it doesn't shut down. So this one denies access here. This one denies access with a grid of mesh here, so the squirrel can't get to the port to get food out. And then all these shut down similar. They have a mesh that keeps the squirrel from getting to the seed, but when birds are on it, they can access it. So these are all squirrel-proof feeders for seed. This one is for suet. And then I have some other feeders here that also deny access from birds to the feeder. This one is a cage that goes around a tube feeder. This is the tube feeder. This is a regular all-purpose feeder. Most birds can eat off of this, but so can squirrels. So if you want to keep the squirrels off, you put a cage around it so they can't get in, but smaller birds can. And there's a part of the cage is on the bottom, so he can't come up from the bottom. Then the rest of the cage slides over the top, denying access from the squirrel. So the issue with this is that bigger birds can't get in, doves, cardinals, but your bluebirds, chickadees, titmice, finches can all fly through the cage and can get on. This cage is 1.5 inch mesh here. There are ones that are 2 inches, but a 2-inch one will let in smaller squirrels, like flying squirrels can get into a 2-inch. So that's why I sell only the 1.5 inch. Then we also have this feeder here, which denies access to the seed from the top, and this only works if the squirrel can get to this feeder from climbing down on the feeder. Because he reaches this specially made top and will slide off. It's formed so he slides out, not down and around. If it's too close to anything, then the squirrel could jump sideways, so you want to hang it away from anything he can jump from sideways. It's a nice feeder, holds a lot of seed, and it's great for all size birds, doves, cardinals, and small birds as well. And then this feeder here is a fun feeder that people like, and there is a video about it. This is a Dro Yankee Flipper, and it is battery powered, so it holds a lot of seed. Birds will just sit on this ring and feed out of it, but of course the squirrel's weight will cause the motor to engage, and then what happens when the squirrel gets on it is the perch spins him off. Sometimes he hangs on and goes round and round, but it's an expensive feeder. It's a rechargeable battery pack that it works well, just fairly expensive. There are some other feeders out there that I don't have in my store, and those include feeders that have also with batteries, and they will give a shock to the squirrel when he touches 2 metal pieces on the feeder, because he'll conduct electricity from one metal piece to the other, and it'll give him a shock, so he'll jump off. Birds don't necessarily feel that shock because they don't have as much water in their system to conduct the electricity produced in those. There's 2 or 3 different companies that make that style of feeder. Our hardware system. So these are poles and ways of hanging feeders. So you can keep squirrels off feeders by what we call baffles, to keep the squirrel from being able to climb a pole and access the feeder. So this is our pole, and on it we have this baffle. So when a squirrel tries to climb up, he can't get around the baffle. So there are things that you need to know about squirrels though to make these kind of baffles work. First of all, squirrels can jump straight up, almost 5 feet. So I'm about 5 feet tall, and so your baffle, the top of the baffle, needs to be 5 feet off the ground. Squirrels can also jump sideways, 8 to 10 feet. So if your pole is too close to the side of a building, to a tree, a bird bath, he can launch himself off sideways and jump over to above the baffle. So you need to have this in a clearing area that has an 8 to 10 foot clearing around it, and your baffle needs to be up 5 feet. And anything you hang from up there on the hook can't be lower than that 5 feet, or he'll just jump to the feeder and climb up. So this baffle sits on a collar that attaches to the pole, and then it just sits there loose. So when he tries to get a grip, it's loose. We have another style of baffle. This one is what we call our wraparound baffle, because with our pole system, you can slide things up and down, but some poles have a hook at the top and a hook at the bottom that goes into the ground, and there's no way to slide. So this one you wouldn't be able to use. So you would need one that can wrap around. It has a 2-piece collar that attaches to the pole. And once you get it on nice and tight, 5 feet off the ground again, then this will wrap around the pole and it clips together and sits on that collar like this. And once again, it's going to hang loose like this baffle. That's it.